7-game winner. Braves at Philadelphia next. He's the best, folks. He is the best. Got it.
That ball is gone. A home run for Chipper Jones. The Atlanta Braves have brought the first championship to Atlanta.
Hello again, everybody. Along with Joe Simpson, Skip Carey, welcoming you to another night of Atlanta Braves baseball from Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Braves won 2 out of 3 against these guys last weekend in Atlanta. Hope to do at least as well as they send John Smoltz to the mound tonight. But the day off to sort of a slow start, a late scratch in the Atlanta lineup, Joe.
Yeah, Ryan Klesko had to be scratched with some abdominal pains that he was having. They began actually at the hotel. They're not sure what's causing it, but he has been a late scratch. Jerome Walton has been added to the lineup. And maybe Jerome can fit right in with what's been going on offensively. He has been swinging the bat very well off the bench, but the Braves as a team have been tearing it up since the beginning of May, including the 2-out hits. Every one of their runs against the Colorado Rockies came with 2 outs, and I think that was the biggest difference in that series as the Braves swept Colorado, and they'll try to stay on that hot streak here in Philly.
They'll go against left-hander Terry Mulholland, who beat them in Atlanta, the one game the Phillies won. We'll be back with the starting lineups, the play-by-play story, right after this.
This is your mission should you choose to accept it. Good luck.
Do you read me?
Welcome back to the Vet in Philadelphia. A nice night for baseball. First game of 3 between the Braves and the Phillies. Here's the Micaton starting lineup for Bobby Cox tonight. Marquise Grissom, Mark Lemke, and Chipper Jones here in the first inning. Fred McGriff, the cleanup hitter. David Justice bats 5th. Then the change, Jerome Walton in left field instead of Ryan Klesko. And as we get information about Ryan's condition, he is suffering from a flu-type stomach ailment. We'll pass that information along to you. Then the bottom third of the order, Lopez, Blauser, and John Smoltz. The defense for the Philadelphia Phillies tonight. One noticeable change in right field. Rookie Glenn Murray makes his major league debut tonight. He's been swinging a hot bat down in AAA at Scranton Wilkes-Barre, and they will try to give this guy every opportunity to play every day. Mark Quinton has not been swinging well, so Murray is the guy tonight. Benito Santiago was swinging a hot bat against the Braves down in Atlanta. He'll try to continue that tonight. He's in the lineup. And on the mound, Terry Mulholland, 33 years old, 6'3", 212 out of Uniontown, Pennsylvania. He beat the Braves on May 3rd by a score of 6-3. That was the game the Braves and Greg Maddux were coasting into the 9th inning, but the Phillies jumped up and had a big 9th inning. Braves couldn't overcome it. Mulholland was the recipient of that, and he got the win. 8 innings, 9 hits, but only 2 runs allowed. 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Lifetime against Atlanta, he is 6-8. One of the things you'll notice tonight is that he does give left-handers fits. They're only hitting 188 against him this year. Right-handers having quite a bit more success, and certainly with the addition of Jerome Walton to the Braves lineup tonight, a right-hander instead of a left-hander. Maybe that will play into the Braves' favor. Braves have won 5 in a row, 8 of their last 10. The Phillies certainly have cooled off a little bit since they came into Atlanta. They have now fallen 4.5 games back of the Expos. The Braves tonight come in a game and a half back of Montreal. Braves 8-6 on the road. The Phillies have struggled here at home. They are 5-8, but maybe that's about to change too. You see a guy right there that is about to come off the disabled list. Kurt Schilling pitched another rehab assignment last night, pitched very well for their AAA ball club. He is scheduled to come off the disabled list and make a start against the Giants at the beginning of next week. So that's good news, certainly, for the Phillies. Umpires for this series, Jerry Davis will be working behind the plate. Ed Rapuano is at first base. Billy Hans at second. And the crew chief, Terry Tata, works down at third. Marquise Grissom set to lead it off. And here to take you into the play-by-play story, here's Skip.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much. Marquise is hitting .259, 3 homers, 13 runs batted in. And we're underway inside. 1 ball, no strikes. End of a quarter. Orlando 36, Hawks 19. Mulholland again goes to work. Popped him up. Foul territory. Let's see if it reaches the seats. Santiago and Phillips come over, and Phillips makes the play, crashing into the dugout. Let's see if he caught the ball. The umpires get there now. I think he did. It's too late to tell if he didn't. 1 out.
Outstanding play by J.R. Phillips, who is known for his glove work when he had an opportunity to play for the Giants, and certainly makes a good impression here on the Phillies fans, falling into the camera well, but was able to hang on to the ball. Looks like he was falling in stages, bouncing off of people. Off the edge of the dugout.
Lucky he didn't get hurt. Here's Mark Lemke. He pops one up. He's going to give him another chance. Phillips is wondering what's going on here. Near the railing. 2 out. Chipper Jones, the batter. By the way, the 8th annual Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association Swing with the Legends golf tournament are June 2nd and 3rd at Colony Square, Sheridan, and Berkeley Hills Country Club in Duluth. For information, call Sybil Brown, 770-621-9800. Here's Chipper. Right up the middle, off the glove of the pitcher. Can't have a quicker inning than that, can you? That's a 1-4-3 if you're scoring with us. No hits, no runs, no errors, nobody left. Bottom of the first. No score.
Followed by Mickey Morandini and Jim Eisenreich. Todd Zeal is the cleanup hitter, then Benito Santiago and the rookie Glenn Murray, who is out of Manning, South Carolina. Glenn Murray, certainly a good-looking prospect. J.R. Phillips, Kevin Stocker, Terry Mulholland in the bottom third of the order. For the Braves defensively, they've got Walton now in left field, then Grissom and Justice center and right. The infield remains the same from third to first. Javi Lopez behind the plate. John Smoltz on the mound is red hot. He's won 6 in a row. The National League April Pitcher of the Month.
And Len Dykstra leads it off against him here in the bottom of the first. Mike Mordecai played last night at Richmond, had 2 hits, a home run included. He'll probably rejoin us tomorrow. Upstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. Nobody on or out, bottom of the first. 68 degrees at game time. Lovely night in Philadelphia. Right through there with a fastball.
That's been the pitch for him primarily during this great run he has been on.
They had that one here at the vet at 92 miles an hour. The 1-1 pitch. A little chopper toward first should be easy. McGriff flips it to Smoltz, covering, 1 out.
John's leading the league in strikeouts with 60, but the story there is his comparison of walks to strikeouts. And you look at it compared to even to 95, and he had a pretty good year last year. That's an outstanding walks to strikeouts ratio and walks to 9 innings ratio. Only 11 walks this year against 60 strikeouts. Outstanding.
Mickey Morandini is the batter. Downstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. Steve Avery tomorrow against Michael Mims out of Macon, Georgia, and then Greg Maddux and Mike Grace on Sunday. That should be an interesting contest. Grace has started like a house of fire. Line drive, left field, base hit. Walton comes up on the second hop. Morandini is aboard with 1 away for Jim Eisenreich. Eisenreich just 2 out of 20 in his career against Smoltz. They play him well around toward left field. Jerome Walton camped on the left field line. If we hear any more about the condition of Ryan Plesko, we'll let you know. Intestinal flu is what they think they've got.
Might be something similar to what Lopez and Wohlers were battling all last week.
Throw to first, runner back. See the numbers on Eisenreich. He's a good serviceable ball player, though. Good outfielder. Has some speed. Takes a blazer right through there. 0-1.
John's last start was against the Phillies last Sunday. Kind of a weird game. One the Braves were cruising on, and then Phillies rallied to make a contest of it. Braves won it 11-8.
Breaking ball down and in, evens it up, a ball and a strike.
It'll be interesting to me tonight to see how these Phillies hitters adjust to John. If they go up there with a little bit different idea of what they want to do, since they struggled against him for about 6 innings last Sunday. He gave up 7 runs, but only 1 was earned.
They don't have much of a crowd here tonight, to be honest with you, considering they're playing the world champions. And it's a Friday night.
Averaging right about 21,000 a day.
That's probably about what they got. Look out, folks. Boy, that ball was smoked. Hopefully everybody's okay down there, but I don't know. Somebody got tagged with that one. Eisenreich is looking down there. Players really get upset by that.
Especially when it's a little one.
Yeah, a little girl is quickly headed toward the first aid room here. He didn't get it. Eisenreich's out on strikes, and he wishes he'd have missed that second strike, too. 2 down. First strikeout for Smoltz.
Well, I'm thinking about it. Speaking of getting tagged with one, I want to wishes to Jason Lohmeyer, who took one off the forehead last night in a Little League game that my son was playing in. And I know he's laid up today, but hope you're feeling better today, kid.
We all do. Here's Todd Zeal. Morandini 9 out of 9 in the stolen base department, so he's definitely a threat to go. Breaking ball outside. 1 ball, no strikes.
Part of what John's success has included has been his road trip games, and he is 3-0 on the road this year. He's beaten the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants, all good hitting ball clubs on the road this year.
Fastball upstairs. 2 balls, no strikes.
And that's one area where the Phillies have really struggled, and one of the reasons Glenn Murray was called up was to try to give them some offensive punch.
They're last in the league, aren't they?
They are last in the league with a .229 team average.
And last in runs scored, too, I believe. There's another breaking ball. This one for a strike. 2-1. Just missed. 3 balls, 1 strike.
Quite frankly, this was not a ball club that was supposed to struggle offensively.
No, everybody thought that their pitching would do them in, not their offense. Into right center field, pretty well hit. Justice calls for it, says don't worry. And the inning is over. 1 hit, no runs, no errors, 1 left. End of an inning, no score. For a hit. And a good start for Atlanta. Fred McGriff now 18 out of 41 against Terry Mulholland. I want to welcome those of you in Atlanta who've been watching the Hawks game. Orlando 49-24 midway through the second quarter. Here we're no score. Just keep checking back and forth.
Fred's still hot. 6 home runs, 15 RBIs in his last 13 games, and off to a good start already in this series.
Dave Justice, the batter. Runner at first, nobody out. David had a good cut, bounced to foul, 0-1 against Mulholland. 8 out of 26, 3 home runs for David. Colorado and Florida 2-2 in the bottom of the third down in Miami. Well hit left center field. Nobody's going to get that ball. It will go to the wall. Short hops the wall. Good play by Dykstra. He'll hold the runner at third. A standing double for Justice. He really tattooed that ball. Second and third, nobody out.
Speaking of adjustments, the Braves got some hits off of Mulholland, but only a couple of runs. John David goes with this pitch running away from him. And a smart play by Lenny Dykstra. He knew he wasn't going to catch it, so he gave himself enough room to get a good hop off the wall, and that saved a run.
That's a good point. If he runs as hard as he can, that ball probably pops right back at him into center field. It might have been an inside the park homer. Here's Jerome Walton, who is not 100% healthy himself, and he knows that playing on this AstroTurf isn't going to do that pulled groin any good, but they have to plug him in tonight. He takes a strike, 0-1. Jerome hitting .387 for the year with a homer, 3 RBIs. He's 5 out of 19 against Mulholland. That one got him as he fouled it away. He's upset with himself. Had a good pitch to hit. No score, but the Braves threaten here. Runners at second and third, nobody out. Bottom of the third, the Giants lead the Pirates 3-1 in Pittsburgh. Montreal winning again. Still batting. They lead Houston 1-0 in the first. Up and away, a ball and 2 strikes. Boy, that new indoor arena here has really come along. It's a monster. Makes the Spectrum look like a bunt. Ooh, close. 2-2.
Talking about Jerome, though, I'm sure you're right. If he had his druthers, he'd probably rather miss a start on this stuff, hoping that leg will get well.
Lined into right field, pretty well hit. Murray going back. Good running catch. Both runners tag. One will score, and Justice moves over to third, and Murray just about played that into extra bases. He got a slow jump on the ball. But he hasn't played in these huge ballparks. Joe, you've talked about that before, how hard it is first few times you play in a major league stadium.
Yeah, it's difficult to read the ball off the bat because of the various elevations, the high stadium. Sometimes your depth perception is thrown off when you're accustomed to playing in maybe a single level stadium like he probably played in Scranton. But a good play nonetheless. That was going to score a run no matter what.
Javi Lopez, and now the infield comes in. A pretty good compliment to John Smoltz this early in the game. And Javi takes advantage of that and rips a single to right. It's 2-0. That ball was sharply hit. Lopez drives in his 19th run of the year. Every ball in this inning has been hit hard. 2-0 Atlanta, and here's Jeff Blauser, who was the hero Wednesday night for Atlanta.
You just got to like the way Javi Lopez is going about his business these days. Nice inside out swing. He was just trying to hit the ball somewhere to drive it through the infield. Since they were playing in close, his chances were real good. If he put good wood on one, it would skip through there, and he did.
Blauser's done all right against this guy in his career, 11 out of 31.
Well, more importantly, he did pretty good that last game at the homestand, 2 for 4 with those 4 RBIs.
See if he can keep it rolling. 0-1 the count. Fastball right through there. Montreal still batting in the first, leads Houston 2-0. Well, they just keep rolling. And the reason might be because they're much better than we thought they were. Check swing, grounder, goes to second, out there. Back to first. Blauser never ran, and that's a double play as a result. I don't know what happened to Jeff, if he lost track of where the ball was or not, but you got to run him out, and he didn't. And a double play is the result. The Braves break on top with 2 runs on 3 hits. After that, they leave no one. We go to the bottom of the second. Atlanta 2, Philadelphia nothing.
We go to the bottom half of the second inning. Time to take a look at the Rogaine leaderboard. Today's list includes the National League opponents batting average against, which has John Smoltz near the top of the league. Sid Fernandez of the Phillies is first. Against Smoltz, lefties hitting 153 on the year. Righties only 193.
You know what we're concerned about now that Rogaine has joined us as a sponsor? That leaderboard look real clean right there. By the end of the year, it's going to have hair all over it. You're not going to be able to see who's doing what. Santiago doesn't get the first pitch, 0-1. He's 10 out of 45 in his career against Smoltz. 5 home runs including a pinch hit job last Sunday. Popped him up. Fred McGribble, that ball's a mile up there. Fred waits. Fred staggers, but makes the play, 1 down. And here's Glenn Murray out of Manning, South Carolina, making his major league debut. Was hitting .356 at Scranton Wilkes-Barre with 5 homers, 17 RBIs. A heavily recruited football player. Won in high school, but he opted for baseball. This is his 8th season, and he's finally reached the big top. 1 ball, no strikes.
Great story about conversation between Murray and Jim Fregosi in spring training about being sent down.
Check, swing, strike, 1-1.
He actually told Jim Fregosi, thanks. I've never had that many at-bats in big league camp with Boston.
That guy's a pretty good manager, that Fregosi.
I bet he is.
This guy might hit the next pitch out of here, but they didn't do him any favor. Your debut is against the hottest pitcher in all of baseball.
He strikes out a lot, but he's also hit a lot of home runs the last couple of years.
Breaking ball outside, 2-2. He laid off that one.
Played the last couple of years at Pawtucket in AAA for the Red Sox. Hit a total of 50 homers the last 2 years, but also averaged a strikeout every 3 or 4 at-bats.
I read somewhere he was originally drafted by Montreal.
Number 2nd round pick, I think.
Breaking ball got him. 2nd strikeout for Smoltz. 2nd out of the inning. J.R. Phillips, the batter. Hawks down by 23 with 3:40 left in the 2nd quarter.
Mark Quitten, by the way, is available to play, but the reason they called up Murray is that Quitten out in right field in 108 at-bats had fanned 39 times.
And when Kurt Schilling rejoins the roster, somebody has to go. I don't know if it's going to be Whitten. Breaking ball strike, 0-1. They just signed the veteran Ruben Amaro, who had been released by a AAA team earlier this year. He didn't get that one. The harder you swing it, the better he likes it. I guess most pitchers are that way.
J.R. Phillips 0 for 6 against the Braves in Atlanta with 3 strikeouts. He's still looking for his first hit as a Philly.
Still 0-2. He's a guy who has tremendous power, but contact is his problem.
And I think he's one of those guys that he's got to be on a ball club where they can live with his strikeouts for a while until he gets on track.
Well, he's not on track yet. The inning is over. Foul tip, but Javi held on. 3 strikeouts for Smoltz at the end of 2. Braves lead 2-0.
And is intended solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, retransmission of the pictures or descriptions of this game without the express written consent of the Atlanta National League Baseball Club is prohibited.
Threw the fastball right by John. It's 0-2. He took one and missed one. Top of the 3rd, 2-0 Atlanta. See ya. High fastball. John, one of the owners of that team in the Northern League. Understand that the reports in the Atlanta paper today said it was 50,000 a man. I think it's more like 15.
Somewhat exaggerated, perhaps.
Well, in air, it was
mistaken.
a story out of Minnesota. I asked one of our triumvirates if those kids went on strike, if he as an owner would lock them out, and I can't repeat the answer. Ground ball to second by Grissom. Morandini has it. 2 out. That strikeout, by the way, was the first for Mulholland. Here's Mark Lemke.
Speaking of guys pitching on the road, we told you about Smoltz being 3-0. Terry Mulholland, 4 games on the road. He's 2-1 with a 2.32 ERA, but at home, Mulholland has been getting raked. 1-1 with a 10 ERA.
Strange. The limmer takes it high. Mark probably takes more pitches high than most.
Got a very good idea of his strike zone because he likes the ball down. He's just not comfortable chasing pitches upstairs. But by the same token, he might also chase a ball, a breaking ball especially, that's low and sometimes in the dirt.
Got around late on that fastball. Yeah, what you said.
Yeah, once in a while.
1-1 the count. Braves got 2 in the second. Breaking ball just missed.
You can see with that patch on Mulholland's jersey that the Phillies are excited about hosting the '96 All-Star game here, July 9th.
Missed down and in. That proves that you didn't lie. The All-Star game will in fact be here. Right through there, another fastball. He's got a good fastball tonight. 3-2 the count. Base hit right field on a 3-2 pitch. The limmer delivers his first safety of the night. The fourth for the Atlanta team. Here's Chipper.
I think that may be part of why Mulholland struggles here at home. I think the AstroTurf hurts him. He gets a lot of ground balls. And on this stuff, the way the ball scoots through the infield, some that might be outs other places are hits here in Philadelphia.
I'm not arguing with you, but I wonder, too, about putting too much pressure on yourself. Like, he went to New York after having big years and just had an awful time getting anybody out, and the people got on him. And so he tried harder and harder, and pretty soon you lose your rhythm and you forget what got you there in the first place. Maybe that happens trying to make an impression on the home folks. He almost made an impression on a fan in the third row with that throw to first.
And these fans in Philly are tough, too.
Ooh. That's Bob Euchre's greatest line, where they booed his kid at the Easter egg hunt when he couldn't find an egg. He was a year and a half, and they all booed him. Chipper hit the ball sharply his first time, but was thrown out. Good breaking ball there. Runner at first, 2 down. I'm looking forward to seeing that Mike Grace Sunday. I've never seen him pitch. High chopper to third. That is a foul ball. Tough break for the Braves because that's a hit.
I haven't seen him pitch either, Skip, but he's been doing something right. 5-0, a 2.77 ERA, 31 strikeouts against 7 walks.
Oh, you can tell right there one of the things he does right. He throws the ball over the plate. Last year he pitched most of the year at Reading, was 13-6. He's had great earned run averages virtually wherever he's played.
Boy, Jerry Davis.
That was weak.
That was a bad throw, buddy. He's got a sore arm, I bet.
Probably pitching umpire's BP. Glenn Diamond and I had a good idea before the game.
You did? Two of you?
That's hard to believe, isn't it? Hard to believe that we were even speaking.
Yeah.
But we're going to make this more like the NBA. Every day at 10 in the morning, you have to come out and have a bat around. And then every day you have to meet with both managers for an hour and ask them stupid questions before you can get ready to do your job. It'll work out. The stretch in the pitch. Let up drill, deep center field. Dykstra going back at the wall. That ball is gone. A 2-out, 2-run Chipper Jones homer. 4-0 Atlanta. Number 5, he's got 23 RBIs, and the Boo Birds are letting loose here in Philly.
He got out on his front foot, but kept his hands back, and then was diving into this pitch. Breaking ball, but look how he stayed over the plate. He didn't pull off the ball. And certainly strong enough. He hit it over 400 feet. He had a feeling, too, didn't he?
Yeah, he knew before any of us. McGriff hits a fly ball to fairly deep left, but that's playable. Eisenreich is there. He lost the ball for a moment, but now makes the catch, and the inning is over. So 2 2-out hits, 2 runs. Chipper's homer, the big blow. No errors, nobody left. Braves haven't left any runners on. Bottom of the third, 4-0 Atlanta. Third inning. PA man pronounced his name Stoker. Is that right? Fastball high, 1 ball, no strikes.
That's a new PA guy.
Yeah. Check that out tomorrow. The Green Book says Stoker. Foul to the screen. 1-1 the count. It's raining in Cincinnati where the Padres want to play.
The great Philly fanatic, hard at it tonight.
I was reading an article today that said lost in the shuffle of all this hard shot controversy was a report that she first the pitch to Stocker.
And what reminds you of Marge Schott?
You said the Philly fanatic, and I thought of Shotzi and so on and so forth. But anyway, that she filmed her players getting off planes to see if they had their wives or girlfriends with them. The story just gets stranger. 1 away.
Because they were not allowed to travel with the team?
I don't know. I mean, if it was on a... Well, they don't always travel chartered, do they, the Reds? Well, how can you tell somebody they can't fly on a commercial airliner if you don't charter it? Here's Mulholland. Foul back, 0-1.
I don't know, but we'll see the Reds in that next homestand. We can ask Marty Brenneman. He can explain it all to us.
Yeah, he'll have a lot of explanations for us, I'm sure. You can't wear facial hair, but it's okay to wear dog hair in your pocket. I don't get that either. The 0-2 pitch. Short work of Mulholland. 4 strikeouts for Smoltz.
When the Braves come home, they have the Pirates for 3 beginning Monday, a day off, and then the Reds come in on the weekend of the 17th, 18th, and 19th, and the Cubs come in for 3. Tickets and information, 404-249-6400 or 1-800-326-4000.
Halftime, Hawks down 67-46 at Orlando. 1 ball, no strikes. Dykstra grounded to McGriff his first time. Upstairs, 2-0. He hasn't been behind many hitters tonight. Braves pitchers have what? They haven't walked a man in 3 games?
Right. That entire Rockies series did not walk a batter.
Well, yeah, we may have jinxed him. It's 3-0 on Dykstra. By the way, Monday night at the ballpark is commemorative calendar night presented by Likes Hot Dogs. First 45,000 fans. Calendar commemorating the final year at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. 2-out walk to Dykstra. That ends that happy streak. And so John needs a new baseball, one that's feels like heading over the plate.
Now batting for the Phillies, second baseman Mickey
Morandini lined a single to left his first time. And tries to butt his way on, and if it stays fair, he has, but it doesn't, and he hasn't. 0-1. 30 2/3 innings without a walk for the Braves pitching staff until John issued that one. Baltimore failed to score in the first at Milwaukee. Boston leads Toronto 2-0 after 2. Yankees and White Sox just getting started. Kansas City at Seattle later. That's hit hard but foul. Fan lost his beer and didn't get the souvenir either.
That's a bad break right there.
What a bad break. Off-speed pitch gets Morandini, and the inning comes to a close, and Smoltz continues to pitch brilliantly. That is 5 strikeouts, no hits, no runs, no errors, 1 left. 3 innings have gone by, and the Braves are cruising. They lead it 4-0. Career leader in saves. We'll ponder that with you and give the answer in a half inning. We go to the 4th. Here's Joe Simpson.
Thanks, Skip. David Justice will lead it off. He doubled off the left center field wall his first time up to extend his hitting streak to 7 games. Terry Mulholland delivers ball 1. Braves with 4 runs on 5 hits. One and one. David down 9 for his last 25. Good swing, just missed, but that's not a good sign. David dropped the bat and looked like he hurt that right shoulder a little bit, Skip.
Oh, and we've had that before.
Like the follow-through was so exaggerated that.
Yeah, right there, boy, you could see it.
Didn't take him long to get rid of that bat. That wasn't bad.
Well, it wasn't good.
Ball and 2 strikes. Another big swing, but no reaction from him.
Yeah, that's good to see. I thought he'd just try to punch one to left, and
he talked.
This is the second one. Excuse me, Jim.
I was just going to say he talked about that a little bit when he had that 2 home run day at home. He said he was trying to finish higher, but that puts a little more pressure on his right shoulder on his follow-through. 2-2. David's average up to 306. He's been helped out by that streak he's been on. Another fastball. Mulholland trying to keep him honest, and he's run the count full 3-2. Mulholland has not walked a batter, and he has struck out only 1, and that was John Smoltz.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that the only guy he struck out was the pitcher, and he only struck out 1 Braves in the last start he had. 1 Braves batter.
Not just a pitcher, he's a part owner of a minor league baseball team.
And a highly respected executive, I'm sure. Let's see here. Another payoff pitch, fouled off again. Mulholland's strikeout a week ago came against Chipper Jones in the first inning of the ball game. Another payoff pitch. They move the target inside, but it's away, and David slices it down the line, but it's twisting foul. It's almost like they don't want to throw him a breaking ball. Nothing but hard stuff. Another fastball, and he got that one. They kept coming in, Made one mistake away that he fouled off, but mercy, how many times can you pound it in there before he turns it up a notch?
He's lucky he didn't go into center field with this ball. It was really hit.
Boy, what a good at bat. David's 2 for 2, and now Jerome Walton up there. Walton drove in the first run of the game with a sacrifice fly, a deep line drive to right. Javi Lopez followed with an RBI single, and the Braves had 2 runs in the second. A 2-out, 2-run homer by Jones gave them their 3rd and 4th run last inning. And if you just joined us, Jerome's in the lineup for Ryan Klesko, who was scratched with an intestinal flu type of problem that began at the hotel tonight and continued here at the ballpark. 2-0 to Walton.
I guess Ryan is still here and in an emergency could be used, but they'd certainly rather not.
Only in an emergency, I would guess. Jerome is 6 for his last 15, and that's bumped his average up to 387. Nice piece of hitting going through the hole on the right side. Justice rounds second, but he'll hold there. Pretty good throwing arm shown by Murray. 2 on, nobody out. Braves now with 6 hits.
Jim Wright on his way to the mound, pitching coach of the Phillies.
And of course he has been named to that post while Johnny Padres is on the mend. And we wish him nothing but a speedy recovery and good health.
My understanding is he's going to take the rest of this year off and then
try to get it going again next year, maybe.
To see how he feels, I guess, and leave that open for now.
Braves got 2 in the second, 2 in the third, and they're threatening for more here in the 4th inning. And Javi Lopez will be the hitter. He's singled in a run his first time up.
A lot of the damage being done to the opposite field. Even the home run was to straightaway center.
Another one that way, and that's past Phillips, and that's going to roll all the way to the wall. Justice is going to score. Jerome Walton is trying to labor around the bases, but he can only make it as far as third base, and he's hurting. That was a play, Skip, that I'll bet you when he's 100%, Jerome Walton scores easily on, because he can fly, but he is really hurting.
Once again, take it where it's pitched. He rifles that ball past the first baseman. The kid does a nice job on the carom and hits the relay man. Yeah, look at him. When he made the turn, it looked like it really got him.
Javi's second RBI of the night. It's 5-0. Blauser bounced into a double play his first time up. Mike Williams warming up in the Phillies bullpen now for Lopez's 5th double.
He took a shot at right field.
Well, the infield's back, so all Jeff basically has to do is put it in play anywhere except back to the pitcher. Got a shot of Williams warming up in a hurry.
He was a starter last week, but I guess things change.
Well, another reason I think he's back in the bullpen is that Michael Mims pitched pretty well against the Braves, and they left him in the rotation. And Mims will pitch tomorrow night. Hit hard, base hit left field. Walton can trot home. Lopez to third, but he'll stop there. And Jeff Blauser has his 5th RBI in his last 4 at bats. That's good news, and it's 6-0.
And that's going to do it for Mulholland. Here comes Jim Fregosi. Another look. He's behind in the count, still very aggressive. The pitch was down. I don't know what it had on it, but it was down.
Well, Mulholland was about to leave the playing field, and Jim Fregosi ushered him back to the mound to wait on his replacement. So as the Phillies make a pitching change and a little debate goes on the mound, we'll take this timeout. And they're threatening for more with runners on the corners, nobody out. And John Smoltz due up against the relief pitcher Mike Williams. Williams 0-3, a 6.75 ERA, 30 innings. He's allowed 13 walks and 20 strikeouts. League hitting .341 against him. He started the game against Smoltz back on Sunday when Smoltz was cruising, had a 9-1 lead at one point. Braves went on to win at 11-8, but Williams only worked 4 innings of that, gave up 9 hits and 6 runs himself. No walks, 5 strikeouts. For Mulholland, only 3+ innings, 9 hits, at least 6 runs. 2 runners out there belong to him. No walks, 1 strikeout. Gave up a home run to Chipper Jones. Smoltz 0 for 1 with his strikeout. Infield playing for 2, and he rubs one right back through the middle past Williams. He might as well join the hit parade. That's 10 hits for Atlanta, and they lead it 7-0. Welcome to the game, Mike. Smoltz has his 3rd hit of the year and his first RBI.
I thought he'd bunt the runner to second. What do I know? Another line drive. We've hit them all over this place tonight.
Blauser moved to second. Still nobody out, and Marquise Grissom up there. He's 0 for 2. Everybody has a hit in the lineup already, except for Marquise. This is Williams' first relief appearance of the year. His previous 6 appearances were all starts. That's inside, and the count 1-1. Marquise hitting .255. And he has hit in 9 straight. 13 hits over those 9 games. Two and 1. 5 straight hits to start this inning. Singles by Justice and Walton, a double by Lopez, singles by Blauser and Smoltz. Outside, 3-1.
Hey, I know the answer to our quiz tonight.
Do you?
I think I do. He's got an Atlanta background too.
No kidding. I thought there was one guy you could guess. First at 3-1, he walked him. Bases loaded, and that'll bring up Lemke. My first thought was of Kent Tekulve, but I don't know if his saves that he accumulated while here are enough to.
He might have had enough in Pennsylvania, but not just in Philadelphia. He's here televising the game tonight, but that's not him. There's Tekulve on the left with Andy Musser of the Phillies. Neither one of those is the Phillies save leader.
Lemke's 1 out of 2. He singled and scored a run in the 3rd. Breaking ball outside, ball 1. Fans getting a little restless here at the Vet.
A little restless. It's like a rebellion. Time to put on the hard hats.
3 runs in, bases loaded, nobody out. There's a strike. Mark with 3 homers, 10 RBIs. He's got a great opportunity here to add to his RBI count. Bounces it off the plate. That'll get a run home. Williams will tag him for the force out. Didn't have to hit it very far, but he added to the Braves lead 8-0. His 11th RBI of the year. Smoltz and Grissom move up.
And that closes the book on Mulholland. 3+ innings, 9 hits, 8 runs, a strikeout, a homer.
And all the runs were earned. Chipper Jones hit a 2-out, 2-run homer in the 3rd inning over the center field wall off of Mulholland. His 5th homer of the year, and he now has 23 RBIs. Fouls that off of Santiago.
I guess you could call that home run a Mulholland drive then.
Yeah, you could. Ball came to a fork in the road. The 0-1 pitch to Chipper. Went after a sinking fastball. He's in the hole 0-2. Told you about Mulholland's struggles here at home. At the Vet, his ERA now up to 14.29 at home.
Wow.
Williams still working out of the stretch. He's ahead in the count, but he's going to start over with Santiago. Williams is a big guy, 6'3", 195, 27 years old. Born in Radford, Virginia, lives now in Newport, Virginia. Phillies got him with the 14th pick of the 1990 draft out of Virginia Tech. Breaking ball is low, 1-2 to Chipper Jones. He was a couple of years ahead of Brad Quantz, but they were teammates at Virginia Tech.
And he has more hair than Brad, too. That's what we ought to do. I wonder how much money we could raise for charity by shaving our heads. How you go about doing that?
Sutton shaving his head.
Ought to be worth a lot of money.
That'll get a run home. Stockers only play to first. They were playing back. Chipper Jones picks up his 3rd RBI of the night, and that is the 5th run of the inning, and it's 9-0. Grissom moves over to 3rd base, and the Braves have now batted around as Fred McGriff stands in there. He's 1 out of 2. 24th RBI of the year for Chipper. 9 runs on 10 hits. And there's a strike. You know, it's kind of funny. The last time Smoltz pitched and it was against these guys, he jumped out to a 9-1 lead, and then they woke up and got their bats going and had a 7-run inning.
In fairness to him, all the runs, 6 of those runs were unearned.
Off the end of the bat, Todd Zeal should have an easy play, and does, and the inning comes to an end. But the Braves send 9 batters to the plate. They score 5 times and had 5 hits. We've played 3 1/2, and it's 9-zip Atlanta.
And Steve now working with the Braves minor league pitchers.
And a boy, Bedrock. Steve certainly going to be a valuable addition to the Braves minor league system. Jim Eisenreich struck out his first time up. Smoltz has fanned 5, and he's got 9 runs to work with. Ball's behind 2-0. Eisenreich jumps on the 2-0 pitch. Walton still struggling out there, moving around. Boy, he's in a lot of pain, folks, and still making the play. 1 out. It's so hard with that type of injury, Skip, to stop and change directions.
Right there, you could see it hurt him. With a 9-0 lead, he may not be long for this game.
Yeah. Sure, Bobby's thinking the same thing. Todd Zeal lined out to David Justice his first time up. He had a funny series in Atlanta. He went 1 for 11, but boy, he hit the ball hard several occasions, like he did leading his first at bat tonight. A lot of line drive outs.
He looked like he was going to be a superstar with the Cardinals, and it never quite happened.
I thought when they sent him back to AAA, when he came back, he was swinging the bat pretty well. I thought, here he comes. You know, it's like they've gotten his attention, and he's ready to go to work. And
not that he's been a bad player. He hasn't. He just hasn't been what everybody thought he was going to be.
high fastball out of play into the upper deck. You know, with the change in the color of seats here, this is really a very attractive ballpark.
Yeah, they've done a great job. I think did they paint the seats, or are they just new seats?
New seats, I think.
Among those in attendance tonight, Kerry Brooks of our TBS baseball crew, vacationing here in Philadelphia.
A ball and 2 strikes to Todd Zeal. He lays off the split finger pitch. It's 2-2. Zeal was 0 for 3 against Smoltz on Sunday. Wicked slider, and all he can do is bounce it to third, and Chipper has him. 2 down, and that'll bring up Benito Santiago.
Not getting any better for the Hawks, Joe. 83-59. They trail with 4 minutes left in the third quarter. And some baseball scores as well. Florida's playing much better. Pittsburgh's come from behind. Montreal winning again. The Mets have a lead at home, as do the Cards.
Come on, Tigers, where are you? We'll find out in a minute. Santiago can't catch up to the high fastball.
They got a couple of kids at AAA that are really pitching well, and it must be a very interesting decision, because you know they need the help so desperately, but they don't want to rush the kids and ruin them for the future.
They're just getting underway at the ballpark at Arlington.
How is that?
0-2 to Santiago.
How is that place? I've never been there.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, that's right. You were here already, weren't you?
Yeah.
Seems like only yesterday you joined us.
Time flies, you know.
When you're having fun.
Smoltz looking for his 6th strikeout. Ahead 0-2. Santiago trying to give his fellow catcher a little help there. His home run, that pinch hit homer he hit off Smoltz on Sunday, was one of the most amazing home runs I've ever seen.
He was off stride. He hit the ball with one hand and shot it right out of him.
It was like a give-up swing, just like, I'm fooled. Maybe I can foul it off. Two and two.
Maybe Marty and the boys are looking in up at Cincinnati as the rain continues to fall.
Maybe that rain's washing something.
That's the kind of swing he had.
Just about like that. And hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Here's the swing here.
I mean,
honestly, it's very close to that swing.
Because he never opened his hips up on Sunday. He just reached out, top hand came off the bat, and he just kind of golfed it. Out of play, battling to stay alive.
Well, the folks in Cincinnati will know it's about time to play when they see Joe Nexall start combing Marty's hair, getting everything in the...
I didn't think you were allowed to touch it.
Yeah. I wonder what it's really made of.
Still 2-2. Stays alive. I like what Santiago has done with his stance, Skip, is that in one way is that he's always had kind of a wide stance, but he's opened it up a little bit. And if nothing else, it's causing him from being open then to step back into the pitch a little bit, stay on the ball a little better.
For whatever reason, he had a lot of trouble getting along out in San Diego with management. But since he's left there, boy, he's put some good... You never hear anything bad about him, and he's put some good numbers on the board.
That foul ball got him, and he's trying to walk it off a little bit. They bust him right inside, but miss. Full count now. Smoltz has walked one batter. That was Dykstra with 2 out in the 3rd. He came right back to strike out Morandini. Santiago with 13 walks against 25 strikeouts this year. Chased a bad pitch and popped it up. Smoltz pointing at it for Chipper Jones. Would have been easier for Smoltz to take it, but Chipper makes the basket catch. And the 4th inning is over. Smoltz gets him in order, and we go to the top of the 5th. All Atlanta, 9-0. Atlanta clobbering Philadelphia so far 9-0. David Justice has had a big night. A double, a single, and 2 runs scored.
Go ahead, Joe. Just another producer foul out. Nothing important.
Right after David does what he's going to do, we'll clue him in.
Big truck race coming up.
Good sinker by Mike Williams, starting his first full inning of work. 0-2. David with a great at bat his last time up there to start the inning against Mulholland. That was the first of 5 straight hits for Atlanta, and they scored 5 runs in the 4th. That's out of play. Truck racing is becoming pretty big.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I see a lot of it on 285 around Atlanta.
Yeah. It's funny how a hitter can get on a roll against another team, and no matter who they run out there, he's going to have good swings against them. Dug out of the dirt by Santiago. It's 1-2. If David's up there for a long time and fouls off several pitches, is there a chance we'll miss the truck race?
No, it's not until if we started doing this one in bits and pieces.
Yep.
Doesn't begin till 3:35 tomorrow.
Okay, check it. 2-2.
But if it runs long, we might miss the game.
Yeah. And tomorrow night, you don't want to miss that. Steve Avery against Michael Mims. 2-2 pitch. Full count.
That's right. That'll be an owner of a part owner of a Northern League team pitching against the guy who used to pitch in the Northern League.
There you go.
Probably never happened before.
Payoff pitch. Got him on a check swing. David tried to stop and couldn't.
Turner Sports will air its second Craftsman Truck Series race of the season tomorrow. It's the Nelson Truck Equipment 200. Ken Squire, Larry McReynolds, and Dr. Dick Bergeron will have the action. Takes 3 guys. From Evergreen Speedway in Monroe, Washington, beginning at 3:35 tomorrow, right here on CBS. What size trucks are they?
4-wheel. Oh. Dwight Smith is going to pinch hit for Jerome Walton. So just as you suspected, Skip, when you mentioned that Jerome may not be long for the game, here's Dwight to pinch hit for him and probably finish up. As a pinch hitter this year, 5 for 19 with a homer. And he's in the hole 0-2. I was watching him hit in batting practice today. Nothing but line shots everywhere. Hits a few balls out of the ballpark just for fun. Most everything else is a rope, mostly to right center and left center. 0-2 pitches wasted outside. 1-2 now to Dwight.
We'll check that. We can check that race out. TBS is on there at our hotel.
Got him. Smith down on strikes this time, and back-to-back strikeouts for Mike Williams. And that'll bring up Javi Lopez, who is 2 for 2, has a double, 2 RBIs, and has scored a run. He had an RBI single in the 2nd inning to right between 1st and 2nd, and then doubled right down the right field line in the fourth. Want to know the count. Houston has tied up the Expos at Montreal. It's 2-2. Expos batting in the bottom of the fifth.
Henry Rodriguez has only hit 1 home run tonight. Whoa, what a year he's.
Tough play in the hole. Past Zeal, past Stocker. Or Stoker, if you talk to the PA guy here. Javi's 3 for 3. Braves have gone in order only once tonight, and that was the first inning. And they did it on about 3 or 4 pitches.
Yeah, it was very quick.
Jeff Blauser hit into a double play in the second inning. He singled and drove in a run in the fourth. 3 hits in his last 4 at bats with 5 RBIs. 0-1. They play behind Lopez with the Braves up by 9. They don't expect him to run, and he won't. 0-2 to Blauser.
They might hope that he does. But he won't.
Mike Williams on in relief of Terry Mulholland, who worked only 3+ innings. Mulholland gave up 2 runs in 8 innings to the Braves last weekend. Gives up 8 runs in 3 innings tonight. The 1-2 pitch. Hit hard up the middle. Blauser's 2 for 3. And he's got 4 hits in his last 5 at bats. Back-to-back 2-out hits. The Braves continue to swing a torrid bat in that situation, and John Smoltz is up there. He has singled, driven in a run, 1 out of 2. John might be up there going for the downs here. What do you think?
I think he'll try to crank one right out of here.
Takes inside, 1-0. Got some nice new batting gloves on. Already a hot shot back through the box for his base hit. That was against Williams, and he's 2 for 2 off of Williams. Here comes Javi. The throw to the plate is going to be cut off. Another RBI single for John Smoltz, and he's up 10-0. He's 2 for 3 and a couple of ribbies. 3 straight 2-out hits.
Fastball tailing in toward him, and he just went out to meet it.
He was just hoping it was high enough to get over Morandini, and was very happy to know that Mark Quitton wasn't in right field, where he had to really race down the line of what's being thrown out.
Life must be sweet. You're 6-1 and you're ahead 10-0. And there's no rain in the forecast.
Grissom's 0 for 2 with a walk. He'd like to join the hit parade. He's the only person in the lineup, the starting lineup, that does not have one.
And he tried to hit that one to Jersey City. Or Atlantic City, I guess is what I mean. That's closer, isn't it?
Probably. Tried to hit it to Chester. How's that?
That's fine with me.
Up the middle, Morandini went down to one knee a little bit early, and it's off his glove. Blauser will score. Smoltz to third. 11-0. Runners at the corners. Let's see how they score it. Give him a hit.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I say. I don't even know for sure yet.
He stumbled right there and then stayed right with it. Just couldn't make the play.
Base hit is the score.
And an RBI.
His 14th of the year. Everybody's got a base hit.
The bullpen begins to stir. I don't think anybody wants to throw, but they're going to have
to. Four straight 2-out hits. Lemke's 1 for 3. He drove in a run with a little infield tapper his last time up. Check swing, but he went around, says Jerry Davis. Left-hander Steve Fry begins to loosen up. Smoltz at third, Grissom at first. In the dirt, 1-1.
Braves have got a chunk of runs here tonight, don't they?
Everybody has an RBI except for McGriff and Justice. Down low, 2-1 to Lemke. Mark's average at 264. 2 in the second, 2 in the third, 5 in the fourth, and a couple here in the fifth inning. Right by him. Good fastball. 3-2. Single RBIs for Grissom, Lemke, and Blauser, and Jerome Walton. 2 RBIs each for Lopez and Smoltz. 3 RBIs for Chipper Jones. There goes Grissom. Payoff pitch. Got him swinging. Inning comes to an end, but the Braves put together 4 straight 2-out hits. 2 more runs. They add to their lead. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Pete and Don head your way. It's 11-0 Atlanta.
Us, Pete Van Weir and Don Sutton with you. Those numbers do not lie. And Pete, I have heard some pitchers say they would rather be in a 1-0 ball game than one like this. You don't think John Smoltz is one of those?
I don't think he's one of those. I think he, in fact, he was talking just the other day about how nice it's been lately for him to get some runs early in the game to work with, relax him right off the bat.
Phillies rookie Murray will lead it off. First time up, he struck out, made his major league debut against the National League's strikeout leader. That's not a good way to break in. Smoltz has 5 strikeouts. He's working on a 1-hitter, 1 defensive change for you. Dwight Smith stays in left field. In fact, Jerome Walton might have aggravated that groin injury a couple of times.
He was struggling tonight.
No balls and 2 strikes. Shallow right field. McGriff says he wants it, and he's got it. So Smoltz continues to pitch like it's a 1-0, 2-0, or a 3-0 ball game.
But John said something else very interesting. He said early in games when the game is very much up in the air, no score, a 1-0, or even a 2-run lead, that he concentrates much more on making pitches that might be strikeout pitches. And once he gets some runs to work with like this, he's not nearly as concerned about the strikeouts, just trying to pitch, get people out.
Gets a strike to J.R. Phillips. That sounds like a mature pitcher speaking.
A little bit of a change from the John Smoltz of a few years ago.
Phillips, a strikeout victim his first time up. A little bit outside, 1-1.
But I know what you were referring to. You're referring to pitchers, and you've heard him say this, and I know you're not one of them after what you told me on radio. darn near tossed us off the air.
Well.
But you've heard pitchers say that, hey, I'd much rather be in a 1-0 game. It keeps your concentration better, keeps you a little bit sharper.
Yeah.
You won't buy that, huh?
No, I don't think I want them on my team if they're that way. Changeup is high. 2 balls and 2 strikes to the Phillies first baseman. He is 1 out of 6 in his career against John Smoltz. That 1 hit came when he was wearing a Giants uniform. He got a breaking ball and homered in Atlanta. He can pick it, though, can he, Pete?
Outstanding defense, and he showed us that in the first inning tonight.
He stays alive. That's back our way. It's still 2-2. That's Mike Williams, who rung up a few strikeouts, but Braves have been touching up everybody lately. Good changeup from Smoltz. That's strikeout number 6.
J.R. Phillips has to be talking to himself a little bit. He's getting a chance to play with his Philadelphia team instead of playing off the bench like he was with the Giants, and just can't get anything going offensively. He's now 0 for 14 with the Phillies.
And more than half of those strikeouts. Here's Kevin Stocker. He grounded to second his first time up. He's a pesky little hitter. Can't get the Smoltz fastball. Smoltz is having the kind of year you really, if you are a pitcher or if you're one who admires pitching, you'll have to run down and love to look at his numbers. He has pitched into the 7th inning in every ball game. That's to center field. Grissom back a couple of steps. We'll tell you about Smoltz's accolades a little bit later on. That's 3, Marquise. Phillies go quietly. John Smoltz has set down 7 in a row. We move to the bottom of the 5th. It's 11-0.
Game summary, and this one's going to be a little lopsided. 11-0 Atlanta. John Smoltz pitching 1-hit ball. Terry Mulholland roughed up and out of there in the 4th inning. Javi Lopez, Chipper Jones, and John Smoltz himself among the offensive heroes.
New shortstop for the Phillies will be Mike Benjamin. They're also going to dip into their bullpen one more time. It's going to be left-hander Steve Fry. Here's a look at the mustachioed left-hander. Here are his numbers. This will be his 9th ball game, 10 innings, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. A league hitting .308 against him. Every Atlanta starter with at least 1 hit. Chipper Jones, a 2-run homer. He's 1 out of 3 with 3 RBIs. Chipper now with 24 for the year. He'll flip-flop over to the right-handed batter's box against the left-handed Fry. $11-0. Brave. A strike. 0-1. That's headed toward short. Mike Benjamin will get his baptism right away into the dirt, but like Pete was telling you, one of the best fielding first basemen around over there grabs that one. 1 out here in the 6th inning. That'll bring up Fred McGriff. McGriff's single scored in the 2nd inning. He's flied to left and he's grounded to 3rd. Outside with the first one, 1-0. First of 3 on a short road trip for the Braves. Braves coming up last night. We'll have a night game here tomorrow and then a day game on Sunday. Breaking ball downstairs, 2-0. So, Pete, you know, some of us came up early this morning. I know you took the charter up last night. What's there to do in Philadelphia on a night off like last night? That's grounded toward Phillips and off his glove. Tried to make the shorthand pickup, short hop pickup, and couldn't do it. We'll see how they score that.
They may charge an error on this one. He's usually a good fielding first baseman. He just came up, he just misconnected there. Didn't get the glove down to field the short hop. Kangarooed over his glove a little bit. And they're going to score a base hit.
That's a 2nd hit from McGriff. Looks like Tyler Houston is going to come on the pinch run. Bobby Cox trying to get some turf time for some players who haven't had it, who normally haven't had a lot of it. So Houston will finish up at first base. Here's David Justice. 2 hits and a strikeout. Take strike 1. So tell me.
Well, there was just a slight mix-up in getting the luggage to our rooms last night. Most people got their luggage. Mine was sent to the ballpark inadvertently, and my luggage in my room wound up to be 3 bats, 2 gloves, and a pair of shin guards.
Ball 1. So tell me, what's it like?
And I want to tell you what, the hardest thing to convince a cab driver of in Philadelphia at 10:30 on a Thursday night to go to an empty ballpark.
A little workout, huh?
It's a tough sell.
Is there a surcharge on that ride at 10:30 to the ballpark?
Only during the wait for the freight train.
2-1 to Justice.
What an evening. They were really surprised to see me in the clubhouse. They said, "You're here already for the game?"
Doing a pregame interview.
But the bag was located and the exchange was made and everything's fine.
The breaking ball stays inside. It's 3-1.
I didn't think how stupid that sounded, climbing in that cab at 11:15 and saying, "Take me to Veterans Stadium."
It's ball 4 to Justice. Looks like it doesn't matter who the Phillies bring out of there. The Braves out of their bullpen. The Braves are going to get some base runners. Well, we were opening on radio. You could have gone ahead and done a pregame interview when you were here.
I had two choices: security guard or clubhouse guard.
Here's Dwight Smith up for his second time. He came on to pinch hit for Jerome Walton. Another one wide of the strike zone, and it's 1-0. Dwight struck out the other at bat. Walton was 1 for 1, a single and a sac fly. Same spot, 2-0. Did we have a notification on Jerome Walton?
As we had expected, they didn't want him to aggravate that groin pull any further. That's been bothering him on and off since the end of spring training.
That's one of those lingering things, kind of like a hamstring pull. That's hit high and deep to left field. Eisenreich at the warning track at the wall makes a catch. Tyler Houston will tag, but I wonder if they crossed at second. We might have ourselves because Tyler Houston went back to tag and Justice went around the bag. Let's see if there's an appeal.
Well, Mickey Morandini, the second baseman, was on top of it. He did check with second base umpire Billy Hahn to see what the call would be down there. But what you had happen is exactly as you said. Tyler Houston tagging at the bag at second. David Justice arriving at the bag at second. Then when the ball was caught, they broke in opposite directions. The question was, did Justice pass Tyler Houston? If he did, then he is out.
Apparently he didn't. 2 outs, and here's Javi Lopez. You know, fans might be wondering, sometimes you see an appeal play, Pete. That time the appeal play was made right away by Morandini. Why sometimes does the pitcher have to put it in play? Sometimes you see the pitcher because it's, I guess
the pitcher has to start the action before the appeal can be made in some cases not.
That time right away the ball was still in play.
Right.
So if there had been time called, then the pitcher has to.
Then the pitcher has to put it in play to start the clock moving again, or start the action moving again.
You can't appeal something when there is no when the ball is dead. That's right. No balls and 2 strikes to Javi Lopez. That's hammered to right field. Murray got a bead on it. He is playing some good defense in right field. So the Braves, this is news. They come up empty here in the 6th inning, leave a couple stranded. We'll move to the bottom of the 6th. It's still Braves 11. Phillies getting shut out.
For the next few days, Phillies series continues tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on TBS. At the Phillies on Sunday, 1:30. And back home against the Pirates, TBS on Monday and Tuesday night, Sports South on Wednesday night. Pitching matchup tomorrow night, Steve Avery against Michael Mims. On Sunday, it'll be Greg Maddux against Mike Grace. And Tom Glavine will kick off the Pirates series on Monday.
Mike Benjamin will lead it off here when Jim Fregosi made the pitching change. He double switched. Benjamin hitting in the 9th spot. In case you're keeping a scorebook, put Fry in the 8th spot. Benjamin 5 out of 10. Comebacker. Smoltz makes the first one look easy. 1 gone. By the way, Tyler Houston stays in. He is at first base. So your defense now has Smith in left, Grissom in center, Justice in right. Still Chipper Jones at third, Blauser at short, Lemke and Houston.
Bobby Cox grateful for a night like this. Not grateful that Ryan Klesko was unable to start because of the stomach ache that he had, but getting Jerome Walton a chance to play a few innings, get a couple of at-bats, and then Dwight Smith takes over for him. He'll get a couple of at-bats tonight. Tyler Houston now at first base. He'll get a couple before the night's over.
Here's Dykstra. He takes the first one for a strike, 0-1. Getting people some playing time is not limited just to the regulars either.
No, you'd like to keep the people on the bench sharp by getting them some at-bats, and right now we've got some pitchers in the bullpen going through some long spells without having thrown because the starting pitching has been so good of late. Guys like Mike Bilecki and Terrell Wade, Jason Schmidt, they haven't thrown in a long time.
0-2 to Dykstra.
Get out the cards in the bullpen.
You can tell they like winning. They're not worrying about when they pitched. Everybody down there with a smile on their face at that big lead. If you're wondering if this is one of the biggest margins of victory, and we're assuming that the Braves will go on and win, 11-0 is a big one, but their biggest margin of victory last year was a 14-run victory over Chicago. 17-3 was that score. Off-speed pitch downstairs, 2-2. Tell you what John Smoltz is doing, Pete, that I like. You don't want to go through a ball game and he could just throw fastball. He's working his third and fourth pitches into the ball game in situations where they're not going to hurt him with a walk. He got ahead of Dykstra, and now all of a sudden they said, let's see the changeup. That's a good way to stay sharp. It's a good way to stay sharp without jeopardizing the good game you have going. See what he tries to finish him off with. Good breaking ball. Now he wants to throw him a strike. It's 3-2. Johnny's only walked one. It was Dykstra back in the third inning. A 2-out walk. Then he struck out Morandini. Right now he'll set it on a tee and see how far Dykstra can hit it to center field. He's tardy and hits it into the left field seats. Foul ball. Souvenir. Still 3-2. Phillies have something here which is a nice feature. Up on the scoreboard in a segment right and left field side, it tells you what the pitch is and what the gun is, and John has been consistently right at 92. Grounded toward Tyler Houston. Good play by Lemke. Good play by John Smoltz. Boy, you just never assume anything, do you?
No, that was very good thinking on John Smoltz's part after the ball caromed away from Tyler Houston, who might be a little surprised at how quickly a ball gets to you on this turf. He hasn't played at much first base in his career, very little on the turf. But after it caroms off him, Lemke gets to it, and watch Smoltz. He never stops. Any ball hit to the right side, you're supposed to cover over there. So when it caromed off Tyler Houston, you'll see some pitchers in that situation stop running, not John Smoltz. And he got an out for it.
2 gone for Morandini. First pitch swinging. That's going to drop in left field. Morandini has his second hit of the ball game. As a matter of fact, he has all of the Phillies hits for the night. 2 of them. He'll stand at first base for Jim Eisenreich, who has struck out and flied to left. Smoltz comes into this ball game on a 6-game winning streak. His career high is 7, going back to the end of 1991 right up until 92. Win tonight, John will tie that. Eisenreich is late. I'm a little surprised, and I went back, I checked both sets of numbers to see the struggles that Jim Eisenreich has had against John Smoltz.
Yeah, he got a base hit off him in his last game against John last weekend. That was only the second hit in his career off Smoltz.
And he's a good contact hitter. But he takes some funny swings against Smoltz.
He does. And for a guy that doesn't strike out much, he has fanned a few times against John, including once tonight.
Finds himself in a hole right now, 0-2.
But some hitters will tell you that against certain pitchers, they just don't see the ball very well.
And he might not see it here. There's a second strikeout for Smoltz. That gives him 7. Phillies get a base runner. Morandini is left stranding. We have completed 6. We'll head to the 7th inning. The Braves still lead it 11-0. Cities in America. Great shot of downtown Philadelphia. Good news for Braves fan. Braves lead it 11-0. And Pete, it looks like Jeff Blauser's starting to heat up a little bit.
Sure does. He'll be leading off here in the top of the 7th. He's 2 out of 3 tonight. He has scored 2 runs, driven in 1. His last 2 at-bats in his last game, he had a couple of hits and drove in 4. Ruben Amaro takes over for Lenny Dykstra in center field as we go to the 7th inning. Blauser now up to 219 for the year. And the pitch to Jeff is right through there for a called strike. Ed Giovanola has moved on deck, so they're going to call it a night for John Smoltz. He'll be pitching his next start with 3 days rest.
That is another great benefit of having a big lead like this, and I like the way Bobby Cox is playing this.
1 ball, 1 strike the count now on Jeff Blauser. With all these Thursday off days throughout the entire month of May, they're going to stick with a 4-man rotation, and that means that every pitcher at one point or two will have to pitch on 3 days rest, and the next time out for Smoltz will be his turn. So they're going to get him out after 6 very strong innings, 2-hit shutout ball, and only 84 pitches. He should be nice and strong for his next start against the Pirates.
Well, every pitcher, I think, would love to go 9 and would love to get a shutout. The opportunities don't come around that often. And I think every person who walks out in front of anybody in the public and does a job in front of it has to have an ego. And I think your ego says, well, I'd love to get it. But that's where your brain takes over and says, it's a long season. We'd like to win this thing. And I can help win by being strong 3 days from now.
Full count now, 3-2 on Blauser. 11 runs, 15 hits for Atlanta. No runs, 2 hits for the Phillies.
Most successful starting pitchers have a nice blend of ego and common sense.
Drill down the left field line, home run distance, but foul all the way. And the count stays full, 3-2. All winter long, we heard questions in the old hot stove league shows on radio and television all over the country asking the same question. How good would the Braves be if they hit? Because the Braves didn't hit much last year, down near the bottom of the league in offense. Zeal across to first in time to get Blauser. Well, during this stretch that the Braves are in right now as they head for a 6th straight win, we are seeing just how good a team this can be if they're scoring a lot of runs.
Well, I think you'd have 4 20-game winners. You'd have a division race unless somebody else was having an equally good year. That would be over in late August, maybe in September.
As you can see, the record not that different this year than it was last. It's the style of the victories, getting runs early for their starting pitcher, jumping off to 2-0, 3-0 leads. In tonight's case, getting a 9-0 lead by the 4th inning.
See, I think that proves a point, Pete. You do not win with pitching and defense. People say you win with pitching and you don't. You stop yourself from losing with pitching and defense. The offense wins it. And when you get runs to play with and you already have good pitching and defense, that pitching and defense is going to get much, much better. So much emphasis. When you have to win with 1-run ball games and when you have to win with pitching all the time, I think it puts a lot of pressure. There are a lot of ways it can go wrong.
Ed Giovanola batting for John Smoltz here. 1 ball, 1 strike to count.
You can't win all season long doing it one way.
And remember last year how many of the Braves' victories came in their final at bat. 25 times they had to pull a game out by a run at the very end of the game. They've only won 2 1-run games all year so far this year. Among those 21 victories they've already picked up, and tonight's victory, barring a complete collapse by the bullpen, is going to be far more than a 1-run victory. So haven't been many close games in the win column for Atlanta.
Well, it'll extend Bobby Cox's life a lot longer if they win it like that, and fewer gray hairs. It's just a lot more fun to play.
Here's the 1-2 on the way now to Giovanola, and it's down low, 2-2. Of course, every time you talk about how good a team has everything going, as the Braves do right now, their offense, their pitching, their defense, there will come a time over the course of a long season when something will happen that'll shut down one side or the other of your ball club. The team will either stop hitting, the pitchers might fall into a little rut for a while, the bullpen might fall into a little bad spell at times.
Don't you think that's when you look at it, and I know we could border on cliche-ish here, that's when you look for some of the intangibles. You see what kind of character the ball club has. You see how good your second line of offense is. You see how good some of those forgotten people in the bullpen can become.
High in the air, shallow center field, Benjamin drifting back. And he stays with it for out number 2. Giovanola pops out, 2 gone. And we'll go back to the top of the order now, Marquise Grissom. Marquise 1 for 3 tonight. He has fouled out, grounded out, walked and singled. Now has a 10-game hitting streak.
Happy fielder, Marquise Grissom.
Hit back up the middle. That's going to get through. Base hit center field. The second hit off of Steve Fry. And that's hit number 16 tonight for Atlanta. Marquise now 2 for 4. And that'll bring up Mark Lemke. Lemke is 1 for 4 on the night. He drove in a run back in the 4th inning with a ground out. He has also singled once and scored once. Takes low and outside ball. And final from the NBA, Orlando beat Atlanta in game 2 of their series, 120-94. So they're up 2-0 in that best of 7 series. Two and 0 the count. Braves just 2 hits away now from their high performance in hits. They had 18 on May 5th against the Phillies. They have 16 now. Their high run total for the year, 15, coming on the second day of the season, second game of the season against the Giants. High and deep to left center field. Amaro going back. He'll get to the warning track and makes the catch for out number 3. So nothing happening for the Braves in the top half of the 7th inning. We go to the bottom half, 11-0 Atlanta. Like a spring training game in a regular season contest, giving some of their regulars some innings off and some of the guys off the bench some playing time. Ed Giovanola stays in the game at short. And we also have a new pitcher, Brad Klontz, taking over for John Smoltz. Appearance number 17 for Brad Klontz. Another great outing for Smoltz. 6 scoreless innings, giving up only 2 hits. He walked 1, and he struck out 7. And there's Kerry Brooks, who is our stage manager for our games back in Atlanta, up here in Philadelphia, taking in the series this weekend. And here's Todd Zia leading off against Brad Klontz.
This is always a popular weekend trip for a lot of Braves fans. It's not that hard to get here from Atlanta. Flights are there, and it's always easy to get tickets. And so there were a lot of Braves fans on our flight up today, and I know a lot more coming up as the day progressed.
Yeah, this is a big ballpark. Even though they have good crowds here, this ballpark seats about 65,000, so they can have 50,000 people here, and there'll still be 15,000 tickets available. 0-2, the count in Todd Zeal. To his fly to right and grounded out to third. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Plus, a lot of people like to come up and enjoy the historical sites here, see if they got that bell fixed yet.
No, they don't. I checked that out today. It's still cracked.
See a lot of Braves hats. As a matter of fact, they're fan of the night. Did you see that earlier?
Yeah, their fan of the night had a Braves cap on. On the ground to short, Giovanola gets an early test since checking in. He passes the test. 1 down. That'll bring up Benito Santiago. There it is.
Still messed up.
Our hotel located right down in the historic section of Philadelphia, and you can make a very nice day of it just walking around Independence Hall and all of the other old structures. The original home of the old Saturday Evening Post that Benjamin Franklin started.
Took me 25 years to have somebody take me on that tour.
Wandered around today. I was in a generous mood after paying $28 for my bags.
No, what you did is there is a riding tour, but after paying $28, you took the walking tour.
Little ground ball slowly hit by Santiago. It's going to be foul. And the count 1 ball, 1 strike. 1 man out, bottom half of the 7th. Braves leading at 11-0 as they go for their 6th consecutive win. They have already managed to move into 2nd place overall in the National League with their record. Unfortunately, the team with the best record in the National League also is in the Eastern Division. The Montreal Expos still a game and a half up on the Braves. Their game right now is tied in the top half of the 8th inning with Houston 2-2.
I think he's a standard by which all of the mascots are measured. The Philly fanatic.
A ball and 2 strikes on Benito Santiago. 2-2.
And I say that because I don't consider the San Diego Chicken to be a mascot anymore. He's freelance.
And if you do get a chance to come to a game here in Philadelphia, ever, make sure you pay attention to the Fanatic when they are introducing the starting lineups,
Yes.
because he has an act that he goes through for each and every name on both clubs. And he's quite good, quite accurate.
And a lot more complimentary for the Phillies, as you might imagine.
2-2, the count in Santiago.
He's got a routine down for Jim Beecham. Jim Beecham, who always brings out the lineup card for Bobby Cox. He grabs his back and hobbles over. He's the best.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Bottom half of the 7th inning. Braves leading 11-0. Might have broken his bat on that one. Here's a piece of trivia for you. We were wondering the other day how many bats an everyday player goes through in the course of a year. So we checked with Casey Stevenson before leaving on this trip. And he said most guys will go through 5 or 6 dozen over the course of a year. He said some go through as many as 100.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did he name some of the names
Yeah,
of the
I
ones?
won't embarrass those players that he named.
Should
But he
be
said,
embarrassed.
he said 5 or 6 dozens about the norm for a year. If you're an everyday player. Out of play, still 2-2.
Players seem to be going more and more to the thin handle bats.
Yeah.
That's why I think you hit one on the end or on the handle, you're going to break it. That's one of the reasons.
I think that has a lot to do. You know, everybody wonders whether the ball is juiced this year. That's why there are so many more home runs. There are a lot of contributing factors to why home runs are up. Everybody's using those thin, whippy bats. You've got a smaller strike zone. Into center field, Marquise Grissom on the run, back to the warning track, and he gets there for the catch. 2 down, pitching diluted with the expansion, so your pitchers aren't quite as good as each staff used to be years ago. So you've got weaker pitching, you've got a smaller strike zone. Players can zero in on a smaller area, maybe develop a little more consistent swing. Don't have to protect the plate as much with 2 strikes, because that high strike is never called anymore.
Also, I think with advances that have been made in weight training, they are more beneficial to the everyday player. A hitter can get stronger, but you really can't train with weights and add 12 miles an hour to your fastball as a pitcher, I don't think.
Here's Glenn Murray in his first major league game. He's 0 for 2 and takes a strike here. He struck out and popped to first. Hitter-friendly ballparks come into it, too. You've got the new parks, which are very hitter-friendly, and you've also got 3 parks in the National League, at least, that have lowered their home run distances in the last 3 years. Houston's moved the fences in. St. Louis has moved the fences in. San Diego's moved the fences in. That'll be a base hit, the first major league hit in Glenn Murray's career. And his mother, we know, is watching tonight down in South Carolina. So, Mrs. Murray, this baseball is coming out and will go probably on your trophy shelf. Glenn Murray's first major league hit right there.
And umpires are aware of things like this. And I know anytime you have a milestone, if you're a player, probably he would have liked a line drive. But by the time his grandkids hear about this one, it will have been a rocket. Your first base hit is your first base hit. He'll probably get a few more.
Here's J.R. Phillips, who has struck out twice against Smoltz tonight. 1 ball, no strikes.
You started telling me earlier about Murray reminding you of someone.
His numbers all the way through the minor leagues remind me a lot of Rob Deere. He's hit a lot of home runs, but he also strikes out a lot and never hits for a very high average, usually between 220 and 250. If you look at Rob Deere's career, between 220 and 250, a lot of home runs, a lot of strikeouts, very similar numbers. 2-0 on J.R. Phillips, who is now 0 for 14 since coming over to the Phils from the Giants.
Oh for 14 with 9 strikeouts.
Here's the 2-0 pitch. High and away, ball 3, 3-0. Pete Incaviglia has grabbed a bat. He's in the on-deck circle. But there are 2 outs in the inning. There's a strike, and the count 3-1. only the second walk of the night issued by Atlanta pitching. In fact, only the second walk Atlanta pitching has issued in the last 37 innings.
You know, this kind of ball game is a good example of why you like managers of the personalities that you have managing these two ball clubs, because when you're winning 11-0, you're never as good as your best performance over a whole year. When you're getting beat 11-0, you're never as bad as your worst performance. And if you're around Bobby Cox very much, you know he's very much in the middle, very even.
So is Jim Fregosi.
And Jim Fregosi is that way too. Both are players, managers, and both will never let you stray too far from the middle ground.
First and second, 2 down. Here's Incaviglia batting for the pitcher. And he falls into a hole, 0-1. He was going for downtown with that swing. He's hitting .214. He has 4 homers, 10 RBIs, 1 for 9 as a pinch hitter. Broke his bat. And the count 0-2. One change, though, Don, in the economics of today's game from days gone by. Used to be when I was a kid growing up and there were broken bats, you'd run down to the dugout at the end of the game because the bat boy would pass them out to any kids that were hanging around. Nowadays, if you'd like to acquire a broken bat, you must go to one of the official souvenir stores run by these major league franchises, and you can buy one.
That's right, for a lot more than it costs new.
0-2 the count. That's how you collected bats when I was growing up. You'd go to a game and get a broken bat and bring it home and tape it up and use it. Here's the 0-2. Way outside, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Do you remember whose name was on your first Little League bat?
I do.
I remember, too. We've done this once before.
Yeah, we have.
Billy Goodman and Al Rosen were mine.
Mine was Rance Pless.
I couldn't remember the last name. That's why we had to bring it up again.
Well, after we mentioned it last year, I got a letter from the Plesses. He was scouting for the Braves up in Tennessee. He went. No, he didn't. Thought he might have. The first base umpire, Ed Wapawana, thought otherwise.
He thought he went, too.
He did.
Yeah. That's one of those where somebody would be yelling from the dugout. If he'd have hit it, he would have gone out of the park. Pretty good acting performance by Incaviglia.
2 balls, 2 strikes the count, 2 men out. Almost looks like he's trying to keep a straight face as he steps back in. And that missed high. The count 3-2. Mike Benjamin on deck. Runners going. 3-2 pitches filed away off the mask of Lopez. Still a full count.
Incaviglia becomes the right-handed version of Ryan Klesko when you get to a hitter's count. If he doesn't unbutton a couple of buttons, then he'll pop some.
By the way, we noticed, and there's Ryan back. I was just about to say, Ryan's back in the Atlanta dugout. He was not feeling too good before the game. Had some abdominal pain. But he's apparently all right. Chopper up the middle. Giovanola fields it near the bag at second, on to first in time. And Brad Klontz gets through the 7th, stranding 2 more Philadelphia runners. We go to the 8th inning, 11-0 Atlanta.
San Francisco and Pittsburgh got themselves a good one going into the 9th inning. Montreal and Houston tied. Grzelcyk and Rodriguez homered. Rain delay at Cincinnati. Chicago at New York. Good pitching in this one. L.A. 2-1 over St. Louis. The American League has Boston leading Toronto. Baltimore by 2 over Milwaukee. New York getting shut out by Chicago. Kevin Tapani. And the rest of the Detroit scoreboard: Texas a 3-1 winner. Pavlik on the mound there. Cleveland at California. Minnesota at Oakland. And Kansas City at Seattle. A big Delta scoreboard for you.
Chipper Jones leading off against Toby Borland, the fourth Philadelphia pitcher to work. Fly ball center. Amaro there for the catch. Chipper now 1 for 5. His 2-run homer back in the third. His only hit. New third baseman as well. Kevin Jordan has taken over there for Tonzile. 1 out in the 8th inning, and now Tyler Houston will bat for the first time. Came on as a pinch runner for Fred McGriff in the 6th inning. He's 1 out of 7 on the year. Got to hit his first major league at bat.
First pitch, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Not so lucky on the first pitch there. 2 down. Crowd tonight of 27,068 here at the Vet. And among those not here but very much enjoying this 11-0 Braves lead right now is a big Braves fan up in Jamestown, North Dakota. Bernice Wicks celebrated her 87th birthday earlier this week.
It's fun, the mail we get from all over the country and internationally. Notes we get from people who enjoy watching the Braves.
David Justice takes one down low.
I wasn't going to start another Sister City campaign, Pete.
Thank you. Here's the 1-0 pitch inside and high. 2-0. The count in Justice, who was doubled, singled, struck out, and walked. Everybody getting into the act tonight for Atlanta. 11 runs, 16 hits, all 9 starters with at least 1 hit. They've had some trouble over in that section of the Philadelphia dugout where those cameras are tonight. First, they had a first baseman fall into him. And now dodging foul balls. But everybody's okay. Count goes to 3-1 on Justice. Tomorrow night, Steve Avery against Michael Mims. Down to first with a 2-out walk goes Justice. Half hour earlier tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, Avery, who leads the National League in earned run average, will be going after his 4th win. Michael Mims, still no record, but he's pitched well against Atlanta in his career.
By the way, in that earned run average race, John Smoltz chasing his teammate, lowered his tonight to 2.28. Team ERA now for the Braves has to be down in the 2.6s.
Ball 1 the count on Dwight Smith. So you've got Steve Avery at 202. Smoltz now at 228. Glavin's down to 277. Greg Maddux 305, and he's the high man in the 4-man rotation. 1-1 the count on Smith.
He was a pretty good pitcher himself in high school, wasn't he?
Brian Klesko was a pitcher in high school. Inside corner, 1-2.
He was scouted as a pitcher. I think a lot of major league clubs were interested, and then he ended up hurting his shoulder, and so they went to see him, and he hit a couple of prodigious home runs, and the rest, they say, is history.
That is all for Dwight Smith. That is all for Atlanta in the 8th inning. We go to the bottom half. 11-0 Braves. Two in the second, 2 in the third, 5 in the fourth, 2 more in the 5th. John Smoltz working 6 scoreless innings. Brad Klontz pitched a scoreless 7th, and now Pedro Borbon comes on to work the 8th. This will be his 4th appearance of the year. He's only worked 2 innings, given up 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. He spent a couple of weeks on the disabled list with some tenderness in his rotator cuff. But he'll go to work on the Phillies here in the 8th inning. And Mike Benjamin leading off. He's 0 for 1.
I remember very vividly. It was almost like watching a kid turn into a man when he took that extra step last fall
In Cleveland.
It was a shot in the arm for him, confidence-wise, and I think for the Braves too, for Bobby Cox, for Liam, for everybody, the job he did there.
Here's the 1-1 on the way now to Benjamin. Grounded to the left side. Chipper Jones is there. One gone in the 8th. And that'll bring up Ruben Amaro Jr. Recently re-signed by the Phillies. He's 1 for 4.
Now batting for the Phillies, number 57, second fielder Ruben Amaro.
He has been around in the California organization, then came to the Phillies, then went to Cleveland. He started out this year with Syracuse.
And not an especially good start in the minors either.
Now he was only hitting .240 for the Blue Jays AAA affiliate. 0-2 the count. Shows you, though, how desperate the Phillies have been to find some help for their offense. Here's a guy that was let go, released by a AAA ball club, and winds up getting a major league job. 2 down. That'll bring up Mickey Morandini. 2 out of 3.
I remember when the Angels drafted him back in 1987. I was in the ball club at the time, and they thought they had stolen a player getting him in the 11th round.
Morandini had the only 2 hits allowed by John Smoltz tonight. Fouls off the first one. 0-1. We're in the bottom of the 8th. 2 men out. The 0-1 is low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two and 1 the count on Morandini. Takes a strike. 2-2. In the air, right center field. David Justice coming on. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Pedro Borbon, who remains unscored upon this year. We go to the 9th inning. 11-0 Atlanta.